Hi everyone, welcome to the Optimum Performance Studio here on a very misty Wednesday afternoon, and we're going to take you through today a short workout that predominantly uses the TRX, the kettlebells and the ViPR, especially for those of you who have bought these pieces of equipment recently and are looking for creative workouts. Alright, so we're going to start off with mobilizers like we always do, and these are great mobilizers just to use without any equipment. So the first one we're going to use is this one. It's a frontline backline mobilizer. So we're going to gently bend over, touch the toes, gentle bend through the knees, and then as we come up we're going to alternate into a rear lunge, drop the knee and reach back. Come back up, repeat. One. Two. Three. Four. And 5 on each. Okay, for mobilizer number 2, we're going to work on the spiral line and twisting. So what we're going to get Lizzie to do to start with is take the feet out a little wider than normal, slight bend through the knees, and she's just going to start moving the upper body, and she's going to pretend like she's got a ball between her hands. And so see how she rolls the ball across from side to side? And we're going to make this a little bit more complex in a minute, but note what Lizzie's head's doing as well, and she's following her blind spot as she turns to each side. So she's got 5 of those on each side, and then she's going to add in a little progression where she steps back with an alternating leg and she steps away from the direction that she's twisting in. And if you have a look at her feet, she's stepping straight back, she's not stepping across. Cool. That's 3. She's got 2 more on each side. 4. And 5. Very nice. Mobilizer number 3, and we're going out to the frontal plane, or left and right. So I'm going to take my feet out about 2.5 shoulder widths apart, and I'm going to drop my hips across to my right, and I'm going to reach across with my opposite left hand, and then come back across and do the other side. So I'm getting a nice stretch, not only on the inside of the straight leg here, but on the outside of the torso. Once again, I'm going to do 5 to each side. That's 4, 5. And remember, with any of these mobilizers, 6, they are all have these 3 things in common. They're gentle, rhythmic, simple movements, 8, that you can do each day. 9, last one. 10. Now we move into our core exercises, and we're going to start off with a TRX hamstring curl. Now we've got the TRX lengthened out so it's basically mid-calf height. So I stood right beside the TRX and I lowered the handles so they are just below my knees. Now Lizzie's going to execute how to get into the TRX for the hamstring curls. So she rolls onto her back, she pulls both knees into her chest, and she puts her heels through the foot cradles both at the same time, and then straightens her legs. Now just bear in mind, guys, that if you've got your TRX mounted on a door or against a wall, you're not going to be able to have your feet further out than that. So they're pretty well going to be up against the wall or the door. Now for these exercises, Lizzie's fairly advanced, so what she's going to do is she's going to lift her tailbone off the ground a couple of inches, and she's going to pull both heels in to the hips, and then she's going to straighten out her legs whilst still keeping her hips up. That's 1, good. Keep going, Lizzie. You're going to do 15 of these. 2, and have a look at Lizzie's form 3, where she's keeping her feet parallel to one another. 4, hip distance apart, and she's pulling her toes, 5, towards her nose as she's doing the exercise. So it looks like her toes are being pulled back towards her head. 6. So pull your toes back towards your nose, Lizzie. There it is. 7, so she's getting a bit of a calf stretch, and she's keeping her hips up. 8. 9. She's got 5 left. 11, and you want to try and squeeze your glutes on as you're doing this exercise. 12, just so the hamstrings aren't hanging out there by themselves doing all the work. 13. 14, and the last one, 15. Superb. Okay, for our second core exercise, I'm going to use the ViPR, but let me show you a regression of this exercise if you don't want to use the ViPR. So we call this exercise dead bugs for obvious reasons. So have a look at my starting position. I'm going to take my legs up into this position here. So I've got 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees, shins are parallel to the floor, and my arms are towards the ceiling. Now if you've got dumbbells, you can use dumbbells, but I'm going to use the ViPR. And we're going to do these. So just the legs looks like this. I push my low back down into the floor, belly button drawn in towards my spine, and I'm going out into what we call a horizontal march with alternating legs here. Now I can make that harder by going further out each time. Then if I want even harder again with the progression, I do opposite arm and leg whilst trying to keep my low back pushed gently but firmly into the mat. So there's that one. And then we go even more difficult, and I grab the ViPR and I use the ViPR to go back with both arms as the alternating leg goes out and back up. Out and back up. And I'm going to do about 10 of these, so 5 on each side. Let's go 12, I do 6 on each side. Belly button's constantly drawn in. I'm focusing on keeping my low back drawn down to the ground. It's 3, 4, 5, last one each side. Chins tucked, looking straight at the roof above my head. And there is 6. Okay, for our third core exercise, this is more of an upper body shoulder warm-up utilising the kettlebell, and I just call it around the world. Well, it's not strictly around the world, it's a horizontal around the world. And all it is this. So I'm passing the kettlebell around and swapping hands in front and behind me. And this is very good for just getting used to the kettlebell, the weight of the kettlebell. I'm using a light 12 kilogram kettlebell, and I'm going to be doing 10 revolutions, 8, 9, 10, and then I'm going to go back the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Of course, if you wanted to turn this into a balance challenge, you could do this on one leg. So I'm balancing on one leg. This is quite challenging. I am toe touching one leg just to get a little bit of stability, and then back the other way. That's your progression, single leg balance. First of our strength exercises, we're doing a lunge and we're going to do a stepping variation lunge. So the first lunge we're doing is a rear lunge on the same side as you're holding the kettlebell. So for Lizzie, this is her right leg. She's going to do 5 of these, and then we're going to show you something a little more advanced. She's got really nice form, that knee almost touching the ground, shoulders directly over her hips at the bottom point. All right, there's 5. So now what she's going to do is she's going to step back with the right foot, toe touch, and then step forward with the right foot. So we've turned it, essentially we've basically turned it into these are called suitcase lunges because you've got the kettlebell in one hand. And Lizzie's now doing what we call a giant suitcase lunge. There's 3. 4. Last one coming up. And 5. Perfect. Okay, second exercise today in our strength set. We are going to do, I should say strength circuit. We're going to do a combination of movements. We're going to do a squat followed by a shoulder press, a pushing movement. So I'm going to use a 12 kilogram ViPR. We're grabbing the double handles. Now I can do this one of 2 ways. I can either go from the waist, which I'll go curl first, then I go down into my squat, and then I drive up into my shoulder press, and I return to the waist. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can keep the ViPR here up at the chest and just do the squat and the press. Squat and the press. I'm going to do 12 of these, but I'm going to do it this way. Curl, squat, press, back to the hip, up again. Curl, squat, press, back to the hip. Couple more. I've lost count. Let's just say I'm 12. I've got 3 left.
5.
Oh, is that only 5? All right, this is getting boring. So I'm just going to do 1 more.
6.
Voila. For strength exercise number 3, we're going to use the kettlebell. And we've got 2 variations for you. The first one is what we call a tripod row. So Lizzie's going to grab the kettlebell in her right hand, and she's going to form what we call an equilateral triangle or equal-sided triangle between her 2 feet and her supporting left hand. So she's going to take her feet out a little wider, and she's going to really flatten out her spine. Yep, slight bend through the knees, but not too much. And then from there, she's pulling the kettlebell up into the ribs and back down again. Yeah, elbow in nice and tight, breathing out as she lifts, breathing back down, back out as she drops the kettlebell. Perfect, there's 3, 4, 5, good. Now I'm going to give you a progression here. So Lizzie's going to turn this exercise into a single arm and leg dead row. So she's tipping from the hip, and now she's rowing, and she's going to stand back up again. Tipping from the hip and rowing. Perfect. So see how she's really nicely, is 3, using that lifting left leg as a driver of the movement. That's what tilts her upper body forward. As she comes forward, hand goes out to secure, and she's keeping the shoulders in a nice horizontally level position. Last one. Yeah, perfect. Good. That's only 10. Exercise number 4, and we're going into a twisting movement pattern utilizing the ViPR. Now I'm going to give you 2 exercises here. One is a little more difficult and coordinated than the other. So the first one, which is relatively simple, is what we call an uppercut for obvious reasons. So I'm going to do a right-handed uppercut. So I put the put the ViPR on my right hip, and I drive it up onto my left shoulder, and it's like I'm aiming a bazooka. So what that looks like from the side is this one. Start off with the ViPR level, and I go up to this position and also keep it level. There's 5. Good. Now, the more advanced exercise, which I'll do from 2 angles, is what we call the G swing, which is short for golf swing. So I'm going to swing it in this direction. Actually, I'll change it. I'll swing it in this direction, so I'll do a left-handed G swing. So my left hand grips the end of the ViPR. I take my feet out a little wider than shoulder width, a little bit of the back swing, and I swing it up into that position and bring it back down. And it's like I'm swinging the ViPR against the wall. So what that looks like when I turn and face you this way is this. Just make sure you've got enough room if you're doing this at home. Especially don't hit other family members. Strength exercise number 5, and it's a kettlebell swing. I like the kettlebell swing because it's like the previous ViPR exercise, it's a total body exercise, but there are ways to do the kettlebell swing and there are ways not to. So the first one is the easiest. It's a double-handed kettlebell swing. So I'm grabbing the kettlebell like this, and as I do my kettlebell swing, I'm taking it back between the legs and I'm driving up with my hips in this position here. Now if I turn to the side, you can see how I'm using my hips, my butt, to thrust through and drive up. I don't want to be using just the shoulders. It's all about momentum, nice easy movement pattern. And I'm taking the kettlebell up to about head height. You can go higher if you want, but no real need. Next up is a single arm kettlebell swing, which is a little harder. So if you have a look at what I've done to the kettlebell, I'm going to use my right hand to swing. So I've tilted the handle of the kettlebell back towards my left foot, and I'm gripping right down here on that left corner. So when I swing it, you notice the angle of the kettlebell when I turn to the side. So from here, I take this left arm back and bring it up. Same principle. Now have a look from the side and note the angle I've got the handle as I swing the kettlebell up. Okay, cool. From there, I'm going to do a alternating hands where I'm going to change my grip at the top or zenith of my swing. All right, guys, ready? Start off with the right hand again, then swing up to the top and change grip. And 3 more from the side. The kettlebell swing, 3 versions. Final strength exercise, we're going to do a little bit of gun work with the ViPR. So it's going to be a bicep curl and an overhead tricep press combination. For this exercise, I like to grip in as close as I can on the ViPR. So it's not the conventional handles, it's right in close, which for me is about shoulder width. So from here, it's bicep curl, nice and easy, shoulders pulled back and down, chest proud, abdominal muscles drawn in, up to here. And then from here, we turn, so you can see what I'm doing. I go up over my head and I drop the ViPR down here, touch the back of the neck, I keep my elbows in shoulder width apart, and I extend back. So from the front it looks like that, and extend. Now just beware, when you're doing this, the vast majority of people have problems here, getting the ViPR back here. You don't have to take it all the way back here. You can go to here, or you can just do our good old curl and press, if that's too much. But otherwise, it looks like that, and I extend like I'm throwing a soccer ball back to the hips. Extend like I'm throwing a soccer ball back towards the hips. One more time from the front. Extend. Now as a cool down, I've got two of my favourite TRX stretches, and they look like this one. First one is the chest and shoulder stretch. So I like to go straight out from the shoulder, and then I like to put my palms forward. I like to bring one foot in front, and then I shuffle my feet forward until I get into a nice, gentle stretch through the chest and shoulders. At about a 6.5 out of 10 on the stretch scale, 10 being pretty hardcore. And I hold these for about 15 seconds each. This is a nice time just to let the chest and shoulder muscles turn off, especially the chest muscles. Good. And then I walk myself back, and I take my arms up to 45, and I walk forward again, and I do that one. So I've lifted my arms up higher now to 45 degrees. Same principle though, 6.5 out of 10 on that stretch pain scale, and a 15-second hold. Relax it off, go up into this position now. So I've got, and then I do the same thing here. Biceps as close to the ears as I can get. This one's a little bit more difficult than the others. 15 seconds. Okay, for your final stretch, we've got the low back stretch with rotation. Once again, that TRX is at mid-length, and Lizzie is going to straighten her right leg, drive her right hip back, and lift that right shoulder as high as she can. So she's going to look at me from underneath the arm. Hi, Lizzie. And then she's coming back in, holding for about 3 to 5 seconds each side, and then she's going to rotate to the left-hand side. She straightens that left leg, she drives that left hip back, and she lifts that left shoulder. She comes back into the center, and I'll give you the rear view just to give you an idea of what that looks like from here. Yeah, that's a really nice angle. Perfect, guys. Okay, that wraps up our workout for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And this is Lizzie and I saying goodbye.